Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Z, and welcome to Dr. Z PhD podcast. Welcome. Many of you may be very familiar with me from my Dr. Z PhD YouTube, and if you're not, highly recommend it. Has a ton of fantastic content to help you understand gender dysphoria, various ways it manifests, as well as tips, advice, guidance, and support. Now, I've been lately thinking about this starting podcast. And one of the reasons why I have decided to do a podcast is because I felt it will offer all of us an opportunity to get a little bit more intimate. And by intimate, I mean to get a little bit more personal into life's challenges, obstacles, wins, celebrations, opportunities, goals, and everything that has to do with really living your best life. And for a lot of you, that means showing up unapologetically as you. That's what I really, really wish for every one of you, without having to experience fear, without having to experience terror that you won't be welcome. I really want that for all of you listening to this podcast. This podcast is for all of you, every one of you who identifies as transgender, non binary, gender non conforming, gender queer, you name it. It's for anyone who ever decided to blur, to cross over, to bend, to break gender binaries that we have culturally, currently entrenched into our society. This is what this podcast is going to be about. We're going to get intimate into a variety of subject matter. And I really hope you're going to find nuggets of wisdom. I really hope you're going to find occasional kick in the ass. And I really hope you will find support and understanding so many of you deserve. So welcome. And if it's your first time here, well, today it's going to be everybody's first time here because this is my first ever episode. Welcome to the podcast. What I wanted to talk to all of you today about is valuing ourselves. And by ourselves, I'm including myself too, even though I am cis-identified. I think valuing ourselves is something that so many of us really struggle with. And especially so many of you who already struggle with gender dysphoria struggle in addition to that. And a little bit of a backstory to this, a little bit of transparency here. One of the things I love about podcasts, it lets you get a little bit more personal with all of my listeners. I had a lunch with amazing Ashley Adamson. And if you don't know Ashley Adamson, highly, highly recommend looking up her YouTube channel. She is just really phenomenal person. And we had what's becoming now our regular lunches at Jones in Ventura here in California. When she comes here occasionally to take care of some of her business. And during lunch, I revealed to Ashley that I recently had a dental appointment. And because my upper teeth are pretty messed up from chemotherapy I had when I was 16 years old. And that's a story for another time. And how my dentist recommended for me to get veneers. Well, let me tell you all, it's $13,000 money drop. And I was sharing with Ashley how I found myself really struggling to make a decision to go with veneers, which my heart knew I really, really wanted and needed, especially since I create a lot of content and my strengths as a psychologist is my voice, being able to utilize and speak and share and disseminate ideas. And I know that having that smile, having that face, having that smile that I feel comfortable and confident about is important to me. And yet, I told her that I really struggled with putting that amount on a credit card because, to be honest, I don't have that amount of money sitting around to drop on dental work. And I really had one of those situations going back and forth. Should I or should I not? And then I decided, you know what? What would you tell a client who was struggling with the same dilemma? And I reminded myself that I tell so many of my transgender clients who struggle with deciding on stepping into gender affirming surgeries, if that is something you're interested in, and deciding to take on that financial obligation, and how I often teach them the importance of valuing themselves and, most importantly, valuing their health. And Ashley said, this is something that people tend to struggle all the time with. And Ashley, who is openly trans herself, shared with me how it was the same dilemma for her when it came to surgeries. And how, for a lot of trans people that she knows, it's constant going back and forth. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Is it worth it? It's really expensive. Do I deserve it? Am I good enough to get this? Am I worthy enough to spend this amount of money on something I so badly need? And the truth is, yes, we all deserve it, more than deserve it. Because we're not talking about something that we just want. And even if it was something that we just want, so what? But most importantly, we're talking about something that all of you, especially, need. You need, a lot of you absolutely need gender affirming care, without a doubt, because it's a medical necessity. It's a need that helps alleviate gender dysphoria, which is a big, painful, struggling concern. And so here I am thinking out loud with all of you about the struggle of valuing our health, valuing ourselves, going forward with something that we know we need, something that we know is going to make a drastic difference in our lives. And for some of us, valuing can be very, very difficult. I know that for a lot of you really struggle with internalized shame and guilt, the thoughts of, I am bad, I'm doing something wrong, I shouldn't be this way, I don't want to be this way. As a result, a lot of you have internalized a lot of self loathing. where a lot of you don't like yourselves. And it's difficult to place a value when a big part of who we are is not something we're comfortable with. And valuing ourselves is not an easy habit to cultivate. I'm going to be very honest with all of you. For me, it didn't come easy. I have not always valued myself. As you can see, being transparent here, the $13,000 smile at this point wasn't an easy decision, which I did end up making. And I'm so glad I did. But it's not an easy decision. And there were times when, forget $13,000 teeth, there were times when I struggled with getting myself something even small because of lack of value. So I know that not just for me, but for a lot of you, valuing is challenging. It is difficult. And maybe you're struggling with something as small as valuing yourself enough to allow yourself 20 or 30 minutes of your day to take a soothing hot bath and to listen to this podcast or to anything else you want to listen to. Maybe you're struggling with something as small as buying yourself flowers or taking yourself out for dinner. Or maybe you're struggling with making that appointment with a therapist or making that appointment with a hormone provider because you don't think you're good enough. You don't deserve it. The truth is, it's not really a matter of necessarily whether we all deserve it or not, but it's a matter of whether you believe and think you deserve it. It all starts with our internal dialogue that we have with ourselves. And I want you all to really start paying attention. How do you engage in that internal dialogue? When was the last time you really needed something or even wanted something? And I bet it's probably not something very huge. Let's just go to something very, very small. Can you remember what reasons you gave yourself for not having it? What narrative did you tell yourself inside of your headspace? I can tell you right now, when my dentist or my dentist's dental financial assistant told me how much it was going to cost, my first thought was, oh, forget it. You don't really need to have a smile you feel good about. You can go on with the teeth you have right now. It's better if you spend that money on something else you need. I was very quick to dismiss it. And I'm sure a lot of you are very quick to dismiss things in your lives, especially when it comes to your gender. I bet a lot of you listening who are in early stages and you really want to explore, just to explore, to tip your toes, to see what it feels like. And maybe all you really want to do is to wear something feminine. And you're not allowing yourself to make that purchase, even something as inexpensive as something you can get even in thrift shop. And that's all because of the narrative we tell ourselves. So let's make a deal. Let's make a deal that after this podcast is over, every single one of us is going to do something small. Doesn't have to be big, although you can if you want to. but something small that you can do for yourself. You see, changing that narrative in our heads starts with changing our behavior. And when we change behavior, it changes and shifts how we feel and see ourselves. So I don't know about you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in a car after this and drive to Target. And I'm going to get myself my favorite NYX Cosmetic black eyeliner. And I'm going to treat myself to pumpkin spice latte because, well, it's November. And I don't know about you, I gotta have my pumpkin spice latte. What are you going to do today for yourself to start valuing yourself, to start shifting that narrative inside of your head? And maybe you too are going to have pumpkin spice latte. Or maybe you're just going to take the 20 minutes to take a bath. Or for the first time, share with somebody your pronouns. Or for the first time, come out to a friend next to you. Or finally, make that appointment you really want with a hormone provider. Or maybe you're at the stage where you really need gender affirming surgery and you're bargaining with yourself whether you should put that on your credit card. And this is not about getting anybody in a debt or engaging consumerism. But here's the thing. There's nothing like investing in ourselves and especially investing in our health, in your health. When you invest in your health, you're buying something for yourself that nobody can ever foreclose on. Nobody ever can foreclose on your health. And if you can't pay that credit card, the creditors can't come knocking on your door, demanding you give your surgical outcome back. Just like nobody can come knocking on my door, demanding I take off my veneers and give them back. This is one of the best investments people can make. Investment in their health and their well-being. Because when you feel good, everything changes around you. When you feel good, you can do more good. You can be more productive at work. You can focus better. And that means you can make more income to help you cover the expense of whatever it is you did for yourself. So let's make a pact. Let's start today with this first podcast with a promise to cultivate the small habits in valuing who we are. Because if you don't have your health, what do you have? What do you have? I want you to think about that. As I'm recording this, I'm not sure if my microphone is picking this up, and I hope not. There is a helicopter flying outside my window. I live pretty close to freeway. And it's making me think of those anxious thoughts a lot of us get when we get into predicament of bargaining with ourselves and how uncomfortable it is. And I don't want any of you to feel that way. So feel free to email me. Feel free to tag me on Instagram or on my YouTube channel. And let me know if you listen to this podcast and what have you done for yourself today. I hope you're going to have a wonderful day today. And I hope you're going to start thinking about your health and your needs just ever slightly differently. And I wish you all of the best. And I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.